Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today in Europe. I'm Tom McKenzie with Caroline Hepker. We are joined by Bloomberg Markets Today editor Moana Coniam for a deep dive on some of the stocks on the move. Drax on course then for its worst trading day in years. Moana, what's going on with Drax?
Yeah, it's a difficult story for Drax this morning. The ticker DRX LN is down more than 9% on the FTSE 100 this morning. That's essentially after they've reported this morning they're facing a probe from the UK's Financial Conduct Authority. This relates to some historical statements that they've made about their biomass sourcing, as well as the compliance of their annual reports. There's been some criticism in recent years about the sustainability of the wood it sources from North America for its power stations. And they have agreed to some of these subsidies to keep the plant in operation in the UK. But there have been some sort of concerns and they've limited the amount of time that can run. So they said they're going to cooperate with the FCA during the investigation. But it was a fairly brief statement this morning, to be honest. And I think probably sort of took the market by a bit of surprise. We saw them fall actually as much as 12% earlier. And now, yeah, like I said, down more than 9% still this morning. And that is putting it on course for its worst day, in more than 2 years. So really quite a significant drop there.
Okay, so that's on Drax. Meanwhile, the spirit maker Pernod Ricard came out with earnings this morning. I mean, there's the tariff issue, which has hit the alcohol makers so hard, but the share price is up this morning. Why?
Yeah, so it's quite an upbeat statement from them this morning. The ticker RIFP is up about 7.5% as it stands at the moment in Paris. I would say that stocks in Paris are broadly higher this morning, sort of buoyant, optimistic mood there in equity markets globally, but also particularly in Europe with car sales, etc. But Pernod's shares are rising, and because they've reported sales that were actually higher than estimates. Key to that was expecting a pickup in demand in the second half of the year because of those trade restrictions easing in places like China. So that's been a trend we've actually seen for a while with sales of cognac in China really picking up. We saw that really, since the sort of pandemic restrictions lifted as well, things have improved there for them. And they've said that they expect things to resume in the second quarter. So I think that that's where the tariff sort of hit isn't in that market. And things can only really get better because it's that time of year where things are quite low as well. So shares responding quite positively this morning, having fallen a bit already this year. So I think there's a little bit of a sort of rebound there as well.
Delivery Hero also in the spotlight for you, Moana. And part of this is down to a currency effect. Yeah,
so that's a particularly interesting report this morning. The shares have been up and down a bit, to be honest. The ticker's DHERGY. So the food ordering firm's earnings did beat estimates in the first half of the year. And that was particularly down to, again, as we were just saying with Pernod, actually strong performance in Asia. This time I think Korea is quite key for them. But analysts have also been noting that the beat today was really driven by foreign exchange headwinds. So, we've seen quite a lot of currency fluctuations this year. And that really helps companies or hinders companies sometimes, who trade in different markets. Their sales are in a different currency to their profits. So we often see that with companies reporting, but this is something that seems to have helped them today in terms of, but the performance, but then looking at their actual annual guidance, analysts are saying, well, look, this is all actually just down to these headwinds, so we shouldn't read too much into the fact that they've actually cut that outlook because it's stuff that really people should have already expected. So we're seeing a bit of movement there in the shares, but up about 0.7% at the moment.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.